Are you afraid of ghosts? Because this next story is going to scare the pants off of you. This is the terrifying tale of the haunting of Saeki House in Tokyo, Japan. And it's also known as the Ju-on legend, or simply the Grudge. It's one of the scariest urban legends from Japan. And like all good scary stories, it's based around an old house. This particular home is located in the quiet neighborhood of Setagaya in Tokyo, though most of the details surrounding the home have been concealed to protect the privacy of the actual owner. But what we do know is that the home was built in the 1930s and has 3 floors, with each floor having their own entrance. In 1947, a family moved into the home. They were a wealthy family and they had a daughter named Mitsuko. She became rather attached to one of the servants in the house. Mitsuko would give her a lot of money and buy her expensive gifts, just so that she could keep her around. But unfortunately for the servant, she had another suitor, a local Yakuza boss, who was completely smitten with her. He would give her flowers and gifts. But when the servant rejected his advances, he kidnapped her and then returned her to the house, but not without cutting off her head. Now, word got around town about how brutally the servant had been murdered, and people began calling the home the Blood House. The family that lived there tried to ignore the rumors and went about their daily lives. But they weren't able to stay there for very long, because soon after, during a violent typhoon, the house caught fire and burned to the ground. People began to believe that the ghost of the servant stayed behind in the house and took revenge on those who had wronged her. Fast forward a few decades to 1968, when a new family moved into the home. Within weeks of them moving in, strange things started happening. At first, it was subtle, just some unexplained noises here and there. But then, it escalated quickly. They began hearing footsteps above their heads, even though no one was living in the attic. And then one day, the mother saw the ghost of a woman walking down the hallway. Not only that, but she could hear her dragging something heavy behind her. One night, they heard a knock at the front door, but when they went to answer it, no one was there. And then sometimes they would find random objects that had been moved, like chairs and tables. They also noticed that the windows were nailed shut from the inside. So if the ghost was real, how were they getting out? Now, this family decided they couldn't take it anymore, and they abandoned the house. And this happened a total of 4 times over the course of 2 years. After the 4th family left, the home sat empty for a while, until a young couple finally decided to move in. They didn't care about the house's reputation, mainly because they didn't believe in ghosts. But within weeks, they were seeing things that made their blood run cold. The husband began seeing the apparition of a young girl standing in the corner of his eye, and then one day he found some old documents that revealed the horrific history of the home. Soon after reading the documents, the wife became pregnant and miscarried soon after. And then they both began experiencing strange illnesses with no explanation. They had no choice but to abandon the house and leave it empty once again. And this pattern continued for years, until a professor from a university decided to rent it out. He was fascinated by the lore of the house and wanted to study the paranormal activity for himself. He brought a team with him, along with some equipment to measure things like temperature and electromagnetic fields. Now, throughout their investigation, they experienced some scary stuff, like footsteps, shaking beds, and flickering lights. But that wasn't enough for them. So they did an overnight investigation, and that's when things got crazy. They witnessed a ghostly procession right in front of them. They saw the ghost of a little girl, followed by the specters of a man and a woman. Now, remember, this was in 1973, so they didn't have smartphones to record everything. But what they did do was draw pictures of the ghosts, and the drawings are pretty freaky. After the professor and his team finished their investigation, they concluded that the ghosts were most likely lingering here because they had unfinished business. The professor felt sorry for them and wanted to help, so he performed an exorcism to lay their spirits to rest. Now, after the exorcism, things did seem to calm down for a bit. But a few years later, construction workers renovating the house found human bones in the attic, which prompted the police to exhume the property. Turns out, the bones belonged to a man, woman, and child, which matched up with the story of the murder. Could this be the reason why the apparitions were lingering around the home all these years? Well, maybe. Or maybe it's better to leave the dead people where they're at. As soon as the news broke about the discovery of the bodies, the home was dubbed the Grudge House, and the whole town shunned the place. No one wanted to go near it. But in 2003, it was torn down to make way for a new development. That same year, a movie called Ju-on, The Grudge was released, which was loosely based on this house and its tragic history. There have been a ton of other films since then, but in 2018, a Hollywood adaptation was released, starring Andrea Riseborough as a caretaker who uncovers the dark secrets of the home. She tries to help the ghosts, but let's just say it doesn't end well for her. So what's the lesson of this terrifying tale? Well, don't mess with ghosts, especially if they're angry. If you want to hear another bombshelling ghost story, then check out this video. Did you enjoy this video? Make sure to hit the thumbs up button and share it with your friends. Subscribe to the channel to see more videos like this. As always, thanks for watching. Bye.